Spider-Man. Everyone knows Spider-Man, everyone loves Spider-Man, and his many films are no exception. Spider-Man, released in 2002, directed by Sam Raimi, was the first big live-action Spider-Man film to come out, with Spider-Man played by Tobey Maguire. Not the first live-action Marvel film to release though, that would be Blade, which thanks to that film's success, Marvel decided to adapt more comic characters into film adaptations. So remember everyone, when you thank the Lord, thank Blade as well, because you wouldn't have the MCU nowadays. Due to the success of other comic book cinematic media that released through the 90s, in 1999 Columbia Pictures got the license rights for Spider-Man, and in just 3 years, one of the biggest blockbuster hit films at the time was released. Spider-Man. Well, what did you think it was going to be called? The film starts with... hey, you're not Spider-Man, get over here. The film starts with 90s stereotypes such as woman, jock, funny fat kid, and some nerd outside... So yeah, Peter Parker in the comics is some geek guy in school still, not a total chad that gets women as some might think. Peter was late for the bus and is trying to yell for someone to let him on board. Luckily for him, Mary Jane, Peter's love interest, stops the bus so he can get on board. Unfortunately, no one likes him. The bus Peter and his class on is taking him on a school trip, where outside Peter meets his best friend Harry and his father Norman Osborn, who is the owner of Oscorp. Norman likes Peter and respects him almost as much as his own son, which makes him feel kind of jealous about Peter.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Oh, he said it, look! Inside, Peter and Harry look at all the cool science things in awe, and Mary Jane continues to be inappropriately touched by Flash. Peter gets mocked for being a nerd and taking pictures of the equipment and the spiders. He asks MJ if he could take a picture of her in front of some of the spiders too. However, it turns out that one of the mutant spiders has escaped, and we soon see that it's right above Peter. You all know where this story goes. Peter gets bit by the spider, it runs away, though he does notice the scoundrel before it leaves, and he looks understandably concerned about it. We cut to Oscorp, where we see work on a really cool glider.
I've already seen the glider!
Oh, okay then. What everyone's really interested in here is the humorous performance enhancers that the company is working on. However, the tests done haven't been given the best results so far. Norman is told he isn't supported and that his funding is going to be lost because of this. When Peter arrives home, he's greeted by his lovely Aunt May and his Uncle Ben, but quickly tells him he's not feeling well and rushes upstairs to go to bed.
I don't feel well. I'm gonna go to sleep.
You won't have a bite?
No, thanks.
What's that all about?
Once he gets into his room, he passes out and his genetics start to evolve from the mutant spider bite he got.
Dr. Osborn, please. The performance enhancers aren't ready. The data just doesn't justify this test.
Meanwhile, we cut back to Oscorp and... hey, wait a second, replay that clip.
But Dr. Cortex, we have not determined the cause of past failures. Moron! This Bandicoot will be my general, and he will lead my Cortex commandos to world domination. This time I shall reign triumphant.
See, that's literally Cortex Castle. Dr. Strom is Embryo, Norman's Cortex. They even both have gliders. What? Wait, does that mean that Peter is cry? Okay, that's no. This scene is actually quite legendary, as we are introduced to the Green Goblin, and the way it plays out is just great. Norman drinks the enhancement juice himself and straps himself into the machine, but something is just a little bit off with how he reacts from all this gas. I don't know, but I'm sure he's fine, right? The doctor died. In fact, the doctor died so loudly, it wakes Peter up the next morning. Peter goes to put on his glasses but realises his blindness has been cured overnight. Not only that, but no, he realises he's buff now. He rushes downstairs in a great mood and promises Uncle Ben he'll help out with a painting after he gets home.
Teenagers.
That's not a teenager. Peter misses the bus again. Before Harry goes off to school, he finds Norman on the floor in his office and is informed that Dr. Strom has been found dead, and that the glider and the suit were stolen as well. Norman is in pure shock by this, as he has no memory that it was him that actually did this the previous night. It's lunchtime now, and MJ slips, but Peter manages to pull this off.
Wow.
He does this with his new Spidey senses that he gained overnight. Also, fun fact, Tobey Maguire genuinely did all of that himself without special effects. It took him over 100 tries, mind you, but still, that's really cool he actually did it. Whilst Peter has other problems with his hands, now being sticky due to his webs forming uncontrollably, he accidentally webs a tray of food and launches it straight into Flash's head. Flash is absolutely disgusted in Peter for being so disrespectful towards him, so he challenges him. We get more cool shots of Peter's Spidey senses here as he absolutely embarrasses Flash. What a beta. Peter just flees the school after that happens and then just ascends a building. He does this to learn what his webs can truly do. He discovers his iconic hand gesture to summon the webs, and hilarity ensues. Later that night, Peter arrives home after playing outside and remembers he forgot to help Uncle Ben paint. Peter starts to design a superhero costume for himself and goes through many ideas and names, and eventually creates the suit we all know and love. The next day, Uncle Ben has a talk with Peter and gives him the life-changing talk that every Spider-Man receives from someone they have as a mentor towards them.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Unfortunately, Peter doesn't really take it in too much and tries to just tell Ben to calm down and stop acting like his actual father. Little does Peter know, he'd soon regret saying this afterwards. Peter tries to test his new powers in a wrestling arena, but is put against the undefeated champion, Bonesaw. After all that planning the previous night, this was the best name and suit Peter came up with.
The Amazing Spider-Man!
My name's the Human Spider.
I don't care, get out.
Let's see, look at that. Even the announcer, a random knockoff WWE announcer, creates the name Spider-Man, not even Peter Parker. I just find that funny. Everyone's just mean to Peter and instantly hates him. In fact, they hate him so much, they straight up just tell Bonesaw to just kill him.
I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of playtime!
So, surprising everyone's expectations, Peter does a little trolling and ends up shitting all over Bonesaw, winning the $3,000 reward. Why did his Spidey senses not kick in there? Shouldn't he have known that chair was cut? Oh well, Peter wins anyway. Peter only gets $100 because the guy running this whole thing is just some schmuck scam artist. What a scumbag.
I need that money.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
So Peter leaves in anger and some guy... Whoa. Peter lets the criminal happily leave because he robbed the uncool dude from like 10 seconds ago and drops this absolute bombshell back on the guy.
Now he's gonna get away with my money.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
That's such a brilliant line. They're both just assholes in this situation. Unfortunately, Peter goes outside and finds that his Uncle Ben has just been carjacked and shot by a runaway criminal. Ben sees Peter one last time and then passes. And go ahead, you meanies, make fun of Toby's crying face. After finding the guy in an abandoned building, Peter grabs him and realises it's the exact same criminal he let go just a few moments before, and it clicks in his head he could have prevented all of this from happening, including his uncle's death. The guy, intimidated by Peter, falls over a pipe and falls to his death and dies. That'll show him, guys. Right, guys? Right, guys? Peter returns home to an obviously very distressed Aunt May and comforts her in her time of need. During the same night, the Green Goblin appears and just wipes out an entire base. Okay, so that's it, scene over, Peter's graduating school. Harry is congratulated by his father, and Norman's like, oh, yeah, good job, son, good job. And then he goes up to Peter and is like, oh, Peter, well done, my boy. Peter takes in what Uncle Ben said to him. He upgrades his suit and goes to stop crimes himself now.
I think he's a man. Could be a woman.
One day people might say that about me as well.
Who is Spider-Man?
He's a criminal, that's who he is. A vigilante, a public menace. What's he doing on my front page?
Now this is where we introduce the J. Jonah Jameson, and this scene perfectly shows what kind of guy he is. He cares very much about his newspapers, and he's told how much he could make if he had a good clear picture of Spider-Man on the front cover. To try and accomplish this, he offers a big payout to anyone that can get him good quality pictures. So Peter goes out and fights crime and proceeds to take pictures of himself doing it, and then just hands them into Jameson as if he was there with Spider-Man.
They're crap. Crap, mega crap.
I'm sorry, what? Crap? How the hell do you expect this ordinary schmuck to go take pictures of Spider-Man halfway up a New York skyscraper like that? Like, these would work as full of promotional art. Hell, I'm pretty sure that is the promotional art for the film nearly. It looks identical. Jameson makes a deal with Peter after Peter asks for a job. If Peter brings in more photos of Spider-Man, he could offer him something. Over at Oscorp, Norman is told that the company is being sold, and he wasn't even informed about this.
But you can't do this to me. I started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?
So, Norman isn't very happy with this, obviously, so he just kills all the guys. Sorry, yeah, I skipped a little bit there. So the Thanksgiving parade is going on in Times Square, and literally everyone in New York is there. Peter's taking pictures of stuff, Harry's there with MJ, and all those guys from Oscorp are also there on a balcony. Peter's stranger danger thing goes off, and he sees the Green Goblin has arrived for the first time in public. However, everyone just thinks this is a part of the parade, which I find quite funny. But people soon realise somehow that this isn't actually a part of the show.
Out, am I?
This scene right here is the funniest fucking thing to me nowadays, my goodness. So when I was younger, I was terrified of CG skeletons and monsters and stuff like that. So this scene actually scared me when all those guys poof into skeletons. Looking at it now, looking back at it, I find it just so funny because it just hasn't aged that well at all. Just with how they look and just drop instantly. It's just like poof! And then it looks ridiculous. They just drop into dust immediately. It's brilliant. Peter has a bit of a cheeky fight with the Goblin. He damages his glider and then the Goblin just leaves.
Who are you?
You know who I am.
I do.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Norman thinks he's going insane as he hears voices in his head. Turns out, it's his voice in his head, as it's the Goblin that's taking over his body from all the gas and body enhancement he took. The Goblin tells him about the true power they could both have, and tries talking some sense into Norman. Back at the Bugle, Jameson creates a name, Green Goblin, for the new villain and continues to slander Spider-Man in the process, much to Peter's annoyance. Gee, someone really ought to... Jameson actually does something good here and genuinely hides the fact that Peter's the guy giving him the pictures. Like, he's an arsehole to everybody, but he practically saved Peter's life there, saying that he had nothing to do with it. Though what I don't understand is how Peter got out of the building so fast, got into his suit, onto the roof, then hangs all the way down from the roof just to stop the Goblin. Well, it doesn't really stop him, more the opposite really, he gets chloroform gas and then kidnaps. Upon waking up, Spider-Man finds himself on the roof with the Goblin. The Goblin talks to him.
You and I are not so different.
Peter wants nothing to do with this weirdo, and the Goblin is displeased about this. I also find this shot of the Goblin casually just leaning next to Peter really funny. I don't know why, I think it's just because it looks so odd to just these two costumes just in a real life situation, casually hanging out. I feel like that might be it. After asking if Peter wants to go with her and Harry on a date the next day, MJ is chased down an alleyway by some creeps. She actually does an okay job hurting some of them, so well played to her. Peter, not really being that far away from her again, is instantly into his suit and takes care of these guys. After realising he didn't even have his mask on for that entire fight, he runs away before MJ learns that he's actually Spider-Man. He gets his mask and then swings down from a building again. How does he do this so fast? MJ says, "Can I give you a thank you now?" and then gives him a kiss. And I don't know if YouTube will really let me have this in the video, because of that nip slip scene for her shirt, so we're just gonna move on from this. A fire has struck a building in New York City. Some dumb bitch leaves her baby inside of a burning building, but Spider-Man somehow waits for an explosion and then flies out the building to make it look dramatic, and he has the baby with him, so problem solved. Some cops instantly try to arrest Spider-Man, but let him just go back in the building to save another woman that can be heard inside. Turns out it was a trap, and it was set up by the Goblin. That's some dedication waiting in a burning building for Spider-Man to turn up. Like, what if he didn't turn up? Peter does some Matrix shit, but he's not all successful as he gets cut by some of the Goblin's blades. He manages to push the Goblin back and escapes the building.
No one says no to me!
Yeah, well, see where that gets you in court, buddy. Probably like an hour later, Norman arrives at a Thanksgiving dinner with Aunt May, Harry, and MJ. He references his work being murder, which, well, technically not wrong. I'm sure that fire he started in that building probably took at least one life, so... Peter, still in his Spider-Man suit, arrives on the window outside, and the others hear him land on the wall. I'm not sure how accurate that would be in real life, honestly, but I'll just ignore it. The others rush upstairs to see who's there, but Peter manages to hide on the ceiling. Due to him being cut by the Goblin earlier, some of Peter's blood drips onto the floor and catches Norman's attention.
Norman? Will you do the honors?
Okay, what? Once Peter joins them, May points out Peter is bleeding as the cut is still an open wound and the blood has stained all of Peter's shirt. Norman's normie senses click here as he notices the cut on Peter is in the exact same place he cut Spider-Man on his arm earlier. Norman is in genuine shock here. He loved Peter, and to find out that he's also Spider-Man, his sworn enemy, he's disgusted. He leaves quickly before even starting the dinner. Before leaving, he absolutely roasts MJ though, which in the process ruins MJ and Harry's relationship.
Harry, please, look at her. You think a woman like that sniffing around because she likes your personality? Do what you need to with her, then broom her fast.
With the identity of Spider-Man now known, Norman talks with the Goblin, himself, and is breaking down at this point. The Goblin tells him that he's got to get Spider-Man where it would hurt him the most. So he does. Aunt May is praying at night when suddenly...
Deliver us.
Because of this, May is rushed into hospital. Peter also rushes in to find out what happened. May is still in shock and mentions the Goblin's eyes. MJ visits May with Peter the next morning to see if she's okay. They both talk whilst May listens secretly. They both have a cute little conversation and May smiles, showing she's okay and also happy for the two of them. Harry magically walks in and catches Peter and MJ holding hands and oh, this scene's awkward, but actually in a good way this time. After being cooked, Harry arrives home and hears strange laughing coming from upstairs.
Dad?
Norman comes out and Harry tells him that NJ is now in love with Peter. This gives Norman more knowledge of who to target next to mess with Spider-Man. Norman has a genuine talk with Harry and apologises for not always being there for him. However, the Goblin takes over mid-conversation and says he'd make it up to Harry. This indicates that while Norman loves his son, the Goblin side of him is more fixated on killing Peter more than anything. Not only is Peter his enemy, but he's now impacting his son's life as well. In the hospital, May tells Peter to go home and teases him about MJ for a bit. She tells him to tell MJ what he truly thinks about her and that he has feelings for her. So Peter does. He goes and phones her and...
Hello? 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 I wanted to record a message for you.
Where is she?
Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
The Goblin must have used that chloroform gas again as MJ wakes up on top of a huge crane. The Goblin sings a merry little song and proceeds to commit a little tomfoolery on the local citizens.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the goblin and took the spider out.
Peter uses all his Angry Birds knowledge and launches himself into the battle. The goblin gives him a choice of either saving MJ or an entire cable car full of children.
Don't do it, Goblin!
And with Peter's persuasion, the goblin doesn't do... Oh. So, Peter first saves MJ, obviously, and then swings back round to get the cable car. But the goblin, unexpecting this, just starts flying around toying with Peter like a fly in your face at night time.
It's time to die!
The citizens on the bridge start throwing random objects at the goblin, which distracts him from Peter. Though after Peter safely lowers the cable car while the goblin is distracted, he's also distracted by MJ, and the goblin lassos him and kidnaps him for like, what, the second or third time this film? He flies to an old abandoned building where the final confrontation takes place. Peter gets brutally beaten right from the start. The goblin gets a bit too cocky and explains how he's gonna go back and kill MJ for good and do it very slowly. This obviously enrages Peter and gives him more of a slight bit of power and convinces him to fight. With his strength, he launches the goblin back and drops an entire brick wall onto him. The goblin gets up from this and now Peter starts to brutally beat him back. He does this until...
Peter, stop! Stop!
Norman reveals himself to Peter and begs for forgiveness and explains that the goblin made him do it all. Peter is in pure shock at this reveal and is frozen. Norman uses this in an attempt to kill Peter one last time whilst trying to give an explanation for his actions. Unfortunately, Norman has not been paying attention while watching this film and he learns that the hard way.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Oh.
His plan backfires and his glider impales him. But I'm sorry, what kind of reaction was that? Just like, oh. His entire face and emotions just changed for him to just say that and then die. This again is one of those little silly bits of the film where you just think, what was going on when they filmed this? But oh well, it's not too bad. Norman's final words to Peter are,
Don't tell Harry.
And then he passes. Out of respect, Peter takes Norman back to his home and lays him in his bed. Conveniently though, Harry walks in and sees Spider-Man putting the corpse of his father into his bed. And he's not very happy with this. Peter speaks with Harry at Norman's funeral. Harry, obviously very angry, claims that one day Spider-Man is going to pay for this, which creates an even more awkward situation between these two, as it was bad enough with MJ leaving Harry and showing she likes his best friend more, but now his best friend is the reason his father died. MJ speaks with Peter and confesses her love for Peter, and yeah, he likes her too, makes her feel really happy and stuff, and
Whatever life holds in store for me, I will never forget these words. With great power comes great responsibility. This is my gift, my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
Well, that was cool, right? I sure thought so, but there's a few things we could point out and nitpick, so let's get to that now. Right, so, Spider-Man 1 is a very iconic film that people still love today. Heck, me and some of my friends watched it during New Year's this year. The film has aged well, I'd say, as we all still love it today. However, that's not all just because it's just a perfect film. No, not at all. In fact, this film is quite a bit messy at times with just how some scenes play out. Tobey Maguire is a good actor, but this first film, it's very clear he didn't really know what he was doing with how he spoke and acted. Like, some scenes, he just speaks really awkwardly and stiff with just the same blank face. I mean, it's like how I was in school, really, and just, well, look at me now. And with me saying that, I can say that while he's not perfect in the next two films, he does get better at the role and, like, performs better as Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe's acting, in my opinion, is spot on in this. I absolutely love his character of Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin. Well, aside from the whole death scene, I think most of his dialogue was brilliant. I have to give credit to J.K. Simmons though too. I love that guy's voice so much. And his character role of J. Jonah Jameson was just perfect. I love every second of that guy on screen. He's just brilliant. He's so good. One last thing to pick on that's noticeable nowadays is the CG usage. Now, yeah, obviously it doesn't look that good compared to modern films because it was 20 years ago, but a lot of it, I think, well, not a lot of it, but it still looks pretty solid in my opinion. Like, some scenes of Peter jumping off of buildings and the skeleton scene kind of stand out quite a bit, but it's not the worst. Like I said at the very start of the video, this film was a gigantic success, and within just 2 years, a sequel was born. And my friends adore that film, so here's to hoping if I eventually cover that in 2024, if I'm still doing shit, I'll have an absolute blast making that video. But yeah, in conclusion, I think this film is still a solid good film. It has its flaws that stick out more nowadays than it did 20 years back, but I don't think that really makes the film, like, bad or anything. It's still enjoyable. If you for some reason haven't watched this film, well, 1, how? And 2, go watch it. It's great, and it's on streaming services, I think. Disney Plus probably has it now, they have everything. But yeah, I think that's all from me for now. I have no idea when this is going up. It was already 2 months late. Spider-Man 1 came out June 14th in the UK, so this internet document tells me. And me recording this audio as of now, which is the 13th of August, so I don't know when this is going up, but it's being uploaded, so I hope you've enjoyed this video either way. I have absolutely no idea what the next video will be that I cover, but either way, I'll see you then. Bye bye!